Hey YouTube, today I wanted to share with you the Emerson A136. This knife was the Emerson Collectors Association Knife of the Year for 2008. Along with the A100 and the A131, this knife is one of Ernie's Pretac designs. Those are the knives that he built and made before he started making tactical knives. So these were all made before the Viper line as well as the CQC line. And this was brought back in the production form. So we can see that it has brown, heavily textured brown G10 handle scales, a thick lock bar, and the wave feature. And what I think is interesting is that while this is a Pretac design, it actually has some of the same features as the tactical knives. So he brought features from this knife into the Viper line and into his tactical designs. So first, it has similar features as the Viper 4. So if you go look up a picture of the Viper 4, you'll see that it has a similar dovetail and kind of a pinky swell here. Also, the CQC 6 is actually quite similar. The spine is kind of flat like this, and then it dovetails down, or goes down into a dovetail point here. Same thing with the CQC 8 and the Commander. So I have a Commander to show you by way of contrast, and we can see that it has a similar dovetail. It's of course the shapes are a little bit different, but it's fairly similar and has that kind of swell for the pinky. And actually, they overlay pretty nicely. So if we just kind of take a mirror image, kind of flip it like that, we can see, let me slide it up like that, that they're pretty darn similar. So what we see is that this Pretac design was kind of used, ideas from that design were used in his tactical knives. And we can see it's been updated, and it has the wave shape feature here now. And I like that, but I also don't like that. So part of me, I prefer knives to be made the way they were designed. And the A136 was designed in the early 80s without a wave. And I think I really would prefer it without a wave, but it is nice for, so I always like stab into trees when I'm reviewing knives to see how your hand would slide. And in a grip like this, your hand doesn't slide very much, but if you do a hammer grip, this indentation for your index finger really isn't strong enough to prevent your hand from sliding, and neither is the grip from the G10. So that's, in a tactical role, will be very useful, but in a EDC role, I think the wave is not really necessary. And so let me compare it to the CQC 7. So the 7 is one of Ernie's premier designs, and many people are familiar with it. And the A136 has a longer blade length by about a quarter of an inch or so. Actually, the blade length on this one is marked as 3.6 inches and 3.25 inches for the 7. The handles aren't so different. The 7 is just a bit smaller than the A136. Actually, the A136 is very similar in size to the Commander. We can see here that the blade lengths are nearly identical, and so are the handles, for that matter. Let me see if I can get it. Here we do. Also, the A136 in this iteration is larger than its Pretac predecessor. So the Pretac version was a dress knife. Almost all of the Pretacs were dress knives and had micarta, or I should say mother of pearl and titanium and things like that. And the original blade length was only 3.1 inches, whereas this one, like I said, is 3.6 inches. So it's a cool knife, and it's the knife of the year for 2008. I think it was released maybe in 2010 or 2011. He kind of has like a backlog on knives that he hasn't been producing as many for the knife of the year for the ECA. But it's a cool piece. And it's a throwback to his earlier designs. So the A100 is a constant production knife, whereas this is a limited production knife. as well as the A131 is also a limited production knife. It was one of the ECA knives. I can't remember the year of that. Maybe 2005 or something? I can't recall. And it's interesting because I would really like to start seeing some of these older knives brought back. He recently did a run of the old Spec Wars, the folding Spec Wars, and I think that'd be cool to do limited runs of these Pretac designs. And I think they have just as much relevance now as they did then. I think they're equally useful knives. This one, it's so how should I say? It's simple. It's understated. It's not as flashy as some of his new designs, and I like that. I don't like having very tactical looking knives. Like the E-Tac just came out, and that one just screams tactical, and that it's not for me. I really like the subdued, more sleek gentleman type of knives. I like the Gentleman Jim, which is a new model. A fairly new model that has those kind of lines. So, but that's about it, guys. I wanted to kind of show you that. Let me again, let's put that 7 back here, and so we see these are some of the older designs. So like I said, this was designed in the mid '80s. Actually, when this was introduced, Ernie said that he won a Best in Show award when he introduced this knife, and then. I think, what would be first? I think the 7 was probably next, I think. I'm not sure. Of course, this is a newer model, but the original 7 design was shortly after the CQC6, and then, of course, the Commander, which is originally the ES1M. All very cool knives and really nice designs. But that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. And as always, be dressed to play and geared to slaughter. See you, YouTube.